Warriors All-Stars is a game that I've played before, in 2017 in fact, which actually does feel like a lifetime ago at this point. I didn't actually play that much of it, probably around, 5 to 8 hours of it, something like that, but I did enjoy the bits that I played. At that point in time, I often had to sell games in order to afford others, and this was one such game that I sold. So why am I playing it now? Well, recently I did a video on the frankly piss poor demo of Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, and a review on the slightly better full game. Let's just say that I desperately needed some sort of, palate cleanser after spending so much time with that game. I happened to spot the physical version of this game on sale for £15, which is probably around $20 US, so I snapped it up. And let me just say, it feels so good to go back to the gameplay that I know and love. So what exactly is this game and why do I recommend it? Well, it's essentially a traditional Warriors game that features an all-star cast of characters, hence the name, pulled from various Koei Tecmo games. There's Zhao Yun and Yukimura Sanada, the poster boys for Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors respectively, Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, Kasumi from Dead or Alive, William from Nioh, Arnice from Knights of Azure, and Sophie from Atelier Sophie, to name but a few. This particular game was created to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of the developers, Omega Force. Its gameplay is very similar to the Warriors Orochi games, and that's because it was originally created to be one. However, quite early on in development, they decided to turn it into something a little bit different for the anniversary. Story-wise, the basic setup is that there's a world that exists in a different dimension, and it's sustained by some sort of magical spring that could be controlled by the king of that world. At some point in time, the king suddenly died, leaving the world in disarray. The queen then gives her daughter the task of summoning powerful heroes and warriors from as many different dimensions as possible to help them, but it goes a little bit wrong and warriors are scattered across the world. As time goes on, other members of the royal family begin to rise up and try to seize the power of the spring for themselves. This divides the family into 3 warring factions that you interact with over the course of the game. I mean, this is a crossover and a kind of what-if scenario type thing, so there isn't going to be that much to it, but I think it works perfectly well for what it's trying to achieve. They just needed some sort of reason to put all of the characters together in the same world, and yeah, I know it's not going to be winning any awards for writing or originality, but I think it's fine for the type of game that this is. You may be surprised to learn that the game only has one mode to play through, but it's been designed for replayability, and personally I think it does what it needs to do. And let's face it, if you're a fan of the Warriors games like I am, then you're probably okay with a little bit of repetitive gameplay from time to time. When you start a new game, you'll be able to choose a character from a starting selection. I've selected Nobunaga Oda here because a lot of the trophy guides that I've looked at suggest playing as him first, but you can of course pick whoever you want. After you've completed a few brief tutorials, you'll be set free to play the game how you want, and I would say that there's 3 main gameplay elements to keep in mind. You've got the Sanctuary, the map screen, and the battles themselves. The Sanctuary is essentially the hub area or home base. This is where most of the interactions between characters happen, and there's a few services that you can make use of. One thing I will say though is that despite playing this on a PS5, the frame rate does tend to tank in this area quite often. It does happen in the battles a little bit as well, so it is something to be aware of, but it is much more noticeable in the Sanctuary. I mean, it's not a good thing, but it is far better on a technical level than Dynasty 9 was, and this may be subjective, but I think it looks a damn sight better as well. And I know it's not a 100% apples to apples comparison, but Dynasty Warriors 9 and Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires are kind of pushing the engine to do things that it just wasn't made to do. This game though, I think looks a hell of a lot better, and it's from 2017. So while it's not a completely fair comparison, I still think it's a valid one. As I said earlier, there is a couple of services that you can make use of in the Sanctuary, such as using the refinery to create, enhance, sell or destroy hero cards, as well as taking on side missions. Hero cards are actually a very simple thing. This game doesn't have weapons in any way, shape or form. The characters just have what they have, and these cards kind of replace them. Each character in the game can have one of these hero cards equipped, and they come with many different effects, including extra attack power and customizable bonus abilities. There's also some events and scenes that can occur between various characters at specific times, but you'll need to fulfill certain conditions to see these. There's also a hot springs where you can sometimes walk in on characters taking a bath, and sometimes even a racehorse. Why? Well, I have no idea, but it did make me laugh. It's also pretty much the only speck of what could be called fan service in the entire game for those that were wondering. The map screen is actually quite important because due to the way the game's structured, it kinda works like a pseudo roguelike system. It's an interesting idea, and it's something we've not really seen in Warriors games before. It's probably not going to be to everyone's tastes, and I think a lot of people would rather just choose a character, play through their story, and then move on to another character. That's just not how it works here, although depending on which battles you choose and in what order, you can change the path you take through the game. As an example, you could play through the game 5 times, and depending on what you do, you may or may not have the opportunity to recruit some characters, fight certain battles, and get different endings. The game does actually have an overarching story, as I said earlier, but the route you take through it and who you choose to play as or recruit along the way can change drastically. You'll notice that some of the map markers are always there. These are for generic types of battles. You can do some of these that give you more money, some that give you more hero cards, and some that give you lots of materials. None of these progress the story, so you can use them to grind out your characters as much as you like. And lastly, we come to the battles themselves. This game uses the traditional Warriors combat format with only a few minor differences. At its most basic level, this game uses the square and triangle normal attack and charge attack combos that we all know so well, and of course the flashy Muso attacks tied to the circle button. In addition, it's got a selection of hero skills that you can use by holding down R1 and pressing one of the 4 face buttons. And you know what's funny about this is that I literally said that Dynasty Warriors 9 and 9 Empires could have stuck with the tried and true combat while still adding in the R1 trigger attacks, and that's essentially what Warriors All-Stars did back in 2017. Both games have special attacks that you can do by holding down R1 and pressing the face buttons, but for me, All-Stars does it right because it added that system while keeping the traditional Warriors combat as its base. Some players out there may disagree, and of course that is absolutely fine by me, it's just how I personally feel about it. To actually set and choose these hero skills, you simply have to go into the team management menu and select different characters to be the 4 backup members of your team. Every character in the game has a unique hero skill that comes into play when they're added to the party as backup members. And like most Warriors games, there's also a bond or friendship system that will upgrade these hero skills as you become closer with these characters. The last 2 additions that I want to show you are the rush system and the bravery system. The rush system works a little bit like the Muso attacks and has you mowing down thousands of enemies in a single rush attack. At certain points during the battle, you'll be able to press in the right stick to start a rush. At that moment, literally thousands of enemies will continuously spawn right in front of you, and you need to take out as many of them as you can within the time limit shown on the screen. Depending on how well you do, you can add extra time to the rush and your party members will cheer you on. At the end of the rush, you're rewarded with lots of extra XP, items, and money. The enemies you kill while in rush mode don't actually count towards your KO total, but it is worth doing for the extra goodies. The bravery system is shown as a star level at the top left of the screen and above the heads of the enemies that you fight. Essentially, you'll be looking to match or exceed your opponent's star level in order to have a fair fight. At the start of the battle, your bravery level will be very low, but it'll increase as you fight. If you have a bravery level of 2 and you find an enemy with a bravery level of 7, they're going to be quite tough, especially on harder difficulty levels. However, if you match the level, you'll be about even. And if you exceed their level, you'll generally wipe the floor with them. It's a neat little system, but from experience, it doesn't really work on the lower difficulties. I mean, I could be at Bravery 3 and easily destroy a Bravery 9 enemy on the easy difficulty, but if I were to bump it up to hard, it would be significantly more challenging to do that. So really, if you want any challenge at all, I would advise not playing it on normal and just going straight to the hard mode. Having said that, if you just want to switch off your brain and have some fun mashing up some enemies, easy is probably where you want to be. So overall, I think this game's an easy one to recommend to fans of the Muso genre. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I have much more respect and a newfound appreciation of Warriors All-Stars after playing Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires for review recently. Again, I know some people like DW9 and DW9 Empires, and if that's you, I mean no disrespect at all. You like what you like and you shouldn't feel bad about it, but for me, those games just aren't what I'm looking for in a Warriors game. It's also kind of funny to me that so many players out there don't even know about these spin-offs. I've looked at a lot of reviews and comments on Amazon, Reddit, and on YouTube regarding Warriors games, and so many people think that the series begins and ends with Dynasty Warriors. Hopefully, someone out there will see this video and give All-Stars a look. It's a solid, mostly traditional Warriors game, and it's got some cool crossover stuff for good measure. Its only real technical issue is the odd bit of slowdown here and there, but besides that, I think it's really enjoyable. If, like me, you're kinda just done with Dynasty Warriors in its current state, then give this a go. I mean, you can pick up a physical copy for around £15 in the UK or around $20 in the US, and for that price, it's an absolute bargain. I'm actually thinking of trying to collect every single Musou style game and spin-off, then perhaps making some sort of recommendation video for each series. That would mean a video each for Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Warriors Orochi, Hyrule Warriors, etc, etc, the list goes on. It would probably be a long-term project to work on in between other videos, but if you like the idea and you'd want to see something like that, please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and I'll see what I can do. If you enjoyed the video, I really hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you like what I do and want to help support the channel, please check out the first link in the video description down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.